A Snapchat threat to shoot up the school spurred quick action by students, police, and school officials. Hello everybody, I'm Lee Goldberg, live in South Portland, just outside of the high school. A teenager was handcuffed in the parking lot of a nearby community center, which is actually about 50 yards in that direction from where I'm standing, because he had reportedly posted on Snapchat last night saying he might, quote, shoot up the school. Now, several South Portland high school classmates took screenshots of that Snapchat. This morning, at least 2 students told police about the threat. During the arrest, police did not find any firearms, but they did find a folding knife. A 15-year-old boy is now under house arrest because he's a juvenile. His identity is not being released. Now, police are applauding the students who came forward with that Snapchat and making sure to tell the police about that threat. That they're saying now that this kind of action can absolutely save lives.
But when it comes to any sort of threats against anybody, really, but our schools here in particular, we need everybody to stand up, to read those messages, to not make assumptions that they're just joking.
On the heels of this morning's arrest outside of South Portland High School, Lieutenant Frank Clark wanted to make that point loud and clear. According to students, the Snapchat threat was actually posted late last night. It wasn't until this morning that some students told the police. Those students are being celebrated.
But it's a great example of other students seeing things on social media, and when you see something, say something. And we're very proud that they did, and we think that helped us wrap this up fairly quickly.
Something really bad could have happened, and so I think those kids should definitely be praised for, coming forward and being honest with what they saw.
I don't know who reported it, but I know a lot of people were very annoyed that the kid replied about 5 minutes later with his next snap, "Just kidding." You can't joke about carrying out a school shooting and then say "just kidding" and think there's not going to be any consequences. There shouldn't be jokes made about a topic like that.
Now, the South Portland School Day did go on as scheduled, but I have a child in this school, and I know for a fact that everybody was talking about what happened all day long. Clay Gordon was there when the students left school for the day and joins us now live. Clay, lots of kids were picked up by their parents today.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Lee. It was a very emotional moment for many parents as they were picking up their kids right here at South Portland High School, especially after that threat you were talking about that was made on social media last night. Take a look at what we saw earlier. This was one mom and her daughter. They were meeting for the first time since this message came out. They were hugging, they were crying. She told me in an interview that she said to her daughter, quote, "I don't know what I would do without you," end quote. Now, for parents wondering what they should say to their students tonight at home, the superintendent, Ken Coonan, says to ask questions about what they know or heard, and it's important to listen to them. Now, for the students maybe a little uneasy about returning to school, counselors are available just to talk if you need it.
Answer the questions your students really have. It's not answering the questions that are your anxious questions, it's answering their questions that we really want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there should be counseling in place for kids that are having troubles and need some outlet to talk to, so that so that we don't end up with something like Florida or other school shootings.
And those counselors will be on hand here on Friday for any students that need anything. And if any parents are concerned, the superintendent's office says give them a call and they will help you with additional resources. Reporting in South Portland, Clay Gordon, News Center, Maine. Lee, over to you.
All right, thank you, Clay. Now, police are obviously trained to take all threats seriously, but today there was an extra layer of concern because of the 17 staff and the students that were killed in a mass shooting at a Florida high school yesterday.
In 2017, the FBI received information about a comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." No other information was included with that comment, which would indicate a time, location, or the true identity of the person who made the comment.
Now, several people who knew the accused gunman, Nicholas Cruz, say he made disturbing comments on social media, posing with guns and talking about killing animals. Cruz stood before a judge today, charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder. Police say Cruz was a student at Majority Stoneman Douglas High School before he was expelled. One teacher said they were warned not to let Cruz onto campus with a backpack. Now, while friends and family grieve their losses, officials are certainly reviewing all of the potential warning signs in the wake of this attack. Lindsay Mills back in the studio now with more on how a watchful eye on social media could possibly help prevent some of this violence. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Lee, that's right. We want to bring in now Westbrook Police Chief Janine Roberts to talk more about the impact of that message, see something, say something. Chief Roberts, who should you reach out to if you do see something that raises the hair on the back of your neck, you know, on social media?
I think the initial step should be to your local law enforcement. They're going to be the ones that are going to initially respond and investigate. The challenge is most of us don't want to believe, if they know the individual, that they're really serious or that there's an underlying threat. And it's tied around a lot of personal emotions and denial in some ways. But the really most important piece is to let somebody know. I hear from many community members that I didn't call when I saw this, not necessarily on social media, but in other ways, because they don't want to bother us. Well, our job is to investigate those things to make sure that there isn't a significant threat, and if there is, that we are investigating and properly holding people accountable that may be a danger to our society.
And by the way, we want to hear from you right now. Will these incidents change the way you monitor your kids' social media? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com to vote. Now, Chief Roberts, what actions can parents take when it comes to their own children posting on social media?
Best recommendation is that they monitor their children's social media, not only for their child's posts, but also for anybody that they're communicating with. They are children. They're going to fight back, especially as teenagers. They're going to push back, and you don't respect my privacy or those types of things. But it's around the safety for your child, because in addition to these types of threats, there's also the threats against your child being a victim in some other type of way. So it's really making sure you keep that communication open with your child and you check it, even if they push back and resist, that you are checking that. And if you do see where your child is expressing strong emotions around something that is not negative or unsafe, that you reach out to local providers that can help your child and you through whatever challenging and troubling times that they are facing and you might be facing.
The Broward County Sheriff in Florida did say sometimes one phone call to authorities can do more than a months-long investigation that authorities do, that law enforcement do. So how much do police rely on the public to say something if they see something?
We rely on it incredibly, with the fact that we are, in today's world, our staffing is not to the level that we want it to be, and we need our community partners, our residents, our visitors, our business people to give us a call when they see something or say something to us. That partnership within the respective communities is integral to our success of serving the public, of keeping people safe, as well as solving the problems and raising the quality of life within our neighborhoods.
Chief Roberts, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us live on News Center Now. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, besides the threat to South Portland, 3 other schools reported incidents this week, all of them happening on Tuesday. Lakes Region Middle School canceled class because of a bomb threat. Augusta police investigated a shooting threat against Coney High School. And officials in Caribou say someone wrote a bomb threat on a middle school bathroom wall. Still ahead on News Center Maine.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around the thought that someone thinks that they can make the choice to take a person's life.
She lost her boyfriend to murder, and she says no matter his past, he deserves justice. The investigative series, Unsolved Homicides, later on Now.
Half of Portland's murders from the last decade are unsolved. Portland Police's clearance rate for solving these violent crimes is below both the states and the country's. News Center Now is dedicating a week of coverage to the victims of these crimes and their families who are searching for answers. Today we bring you Brian Garcia's story.
Hi, my name is Christy, and my friend Brian Garcia was killed on February 27, 2017. When I pulled in my driveway, I saw the detectives, and I just fell over, because I knew it was true. It's really hard.
A musician and dancer with a love of adventure, Brian's energy was contagious.
My nieces and nephews loved him, my sisters loved him, my parents loved him.
I'm number one.
he was one of us.
A transplant from California, Brian found a second home with Christy McCarthy and her family. Their friendship soon turned into love.
I remember this text message. He was just like, I'm tired of the in-between.
After several years together, the relationship shifted.
He just kind of got mixed up with the wrong crowd.
Brian got tied up in drugs, and he and Christy went their separate ways. But he was a part of the family. She still saw him every day, even the day he died.
I never wanted him to leave when he was around, but that day in particular, I held them for a long time. I didn't realize it'd be the last hug I ever got from him.
That afternoon, Brian was dead, found slumped over inside his car in Portland's West End. Christy was 2 blocks away at work. She rushed home when friends texted her to let her know something was wrong.
I was at the stop sign that's like right there. Like if I had looked left, I would have seen like the scene.
When she got home, the detectives were in her driveway.
The scream that came from like so deep within me, and like I can't even like explain it because it's just nothing I've ever felt before. Sounds that I didn't even know I could make.
Before she could process what happened, the comments online came rolling in.
He didn't deserve this. And I feel like a lot of people think he did because of his past. And that's been actually one of the hardest things. Is like everyone just being so judgmental before they really know who he is.
Brian had a record, drugs and firearms. He was a lifetime registered sex offender after a 2006 misdemeanor conviction for sexual abuse of a minor. Friends say he was dating the victim when a family member reported the relationship. Portland police have been silent about Brian Garcia's case until our cameras were rolling almost 1 year later. Does the department believe that drugs or drug dealing played any role in that case?
Yes, we do.
Assistant Police Chief Vern Malik says detectives traveled out of state to follow leads a few months ago, and that Brian's case is still being actively investigated. Christy says she hasn't been given any details because she isn't technically Brian's family.
It was almost like I felt like I was going in there too much to ask them questions or see what was happening, because then they're like, well, we can email. But I haven't received one email.
Nearly half of Portland's homicide cases from the last decade are unsolved. The assistant police chief says releasing too many details to families could unravel the department's progress.
We can't tell them every single thing that we're doing on the case, but we have to hold those investigative leads and that knowledge close to the vest.
Christy is back to work after months of grieving.
You never realize how much pictures are gonna mean to you.
She's reminded of Brian every day, in pictures and from her family, including her young nephew.
He's always asking me, like, where's Brian? Where's Brian? And it's like, what do I say?
What do you say when you don't know what happened, who did it, or why?
It's hard. It's really hard. Because I'm trying to continue to live my life. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, who did this? Like, who took him? Because they didn't just hurt him. They hurt everyone that he was connected to.
So Brian's story is the last personal story we're going to be telling this week. For more on his story, you can go on our websites and mobile apps. Tomorrow's going to be our final story in this series. And Lindsay, it's a sit-down interview with Portland Police to try and get some answers and find out if we can do anything better to make sure more of these crimes are getting solved.
All right, looking forward to that tomorrow. And what was it like for you, covering this death investigation from its start and now following up with loved ones of the person who was killed?
Yeah, so I was actually there at Brian Garcia's case when this was breaking news, when it happened. And it's certainly tough to follow that for a full year.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Weather's next. Stay with us. Keith, it was beautiful out there today.
We did some melting, subtle melting, because it wasn't all that sunny, but you could see it just kind of wet, but it hadn't rained. We get into the upper 40s. We've got quite a roller coaster going here, though. High temperature of 44 in Portland, 49 in Sanford. Look at Portsmouth, 51 degrees. Not bad at all, 36 in Greenville. We got a little area of rain down to our south. The models have become progressively less and less into this round of rain coming tomorrow morning, which is okay. We'll still see some along the coastline and a couple of showers in the mountains, but it looked like it was going to be a worse day just a few days ago, and now it doesn't look all that bad. Here's your hour-by-hour forecast. Tomorrow morning, particularly along the coastline, there's some light rain. It's a cloudy start to the day for sure. Temperatures are around 40 because tonight won't be all that cold at all. And then we get this rain to move off to the east through the afternoon, and a couple of snow showers pop up in the mountains as colder air comes in from the north and west as it gets breezy tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night is cold. Temperatures from the single digits right around the teens along the coastline. Bright start to the day on Saturday before clouds move in Saturday afternoon, and then we'll be dealing with what it looks like at least a little light snow Saturday night and into Sunday. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but it should be pretty well timed that it occurs largely overnight and it's out of here by mid-morning at the latest. So we'll continue to kind of watch that move away. Let's go forward here. There's a difference between the Euro and the GFS as far as this storm goes, and it doesn't look like much, right? So there's the GFS, a little bit farther to south and east, a little less strong with it. The Euro is more to the north and west and is more intense with it. That's the difference between almost nothing for snow and a couple of inches of snow. So right now we're leaning kind of in the middle with our forecasts, basically painting much of the area with 1 to 3 inches of snow, and then we'll fine-tune that obviously as we get a little bit closer. Jackpot should be down across southern New England, again 1 to 3 broadly across the coastline Saturday night through Sunday morning, and then about 1 inch in the mountains. That being said, because the models aren't agreeing on this, it wouldn't shock me if we were able to drop this farther south, so we'll keep an eye on it as we get a little bit closer. Here's the fun stuff though. The models have started to come into some alignment. Tuesday in the low 50s, not so bad. I think we could do better than that though. And Wednesday, again, trying to pop us to around 60 degrees during the afternoon. So all over the place, from a couple inches of snow to 60 plus possible on Wednesday, particularly inland. The coastline has a hard time getting that warm in the middle of February. Still, we'd break records. Also of note, if you have a plow guy that is flexible, I would suggest not plowing what happens on Sunday because it will be gone by Monday noon at the latest. So unless you're, delicate with your car or something, it'll be gone.
I'm laughing inside knowing that that's exactly what you're going to be doing.
I'm going to try. I don't know if my guy's that flexible, but it's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot. It's always good to have be in the know with that sort of thing.
That's why no one wants to be
Your neighbors will love you for it. All right, Keith, thanks so much. Let's check in with Cindy Williams, who has a look at what's coming up next on News Center Maine at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, guys. There was a college recruiter from Maine in the high school in Florida yesterday when 17 people were gunned down. How he is coping with that very traumatic experience coming up. And lawmakers in Maine try to rally the votes to stop Governor LePage from closing the Down East Correctional Facility. Can they get it done? Those stories and more all ahead at 5:30. Back to you.
All right, Cindy, thanks so much. And after the break, Now is back with a live update from Pyeongchang, where the two Koreas are working together to put on a great show. You're about to see the Olympic standings from Pyeongchang. Look away if you are afraid of spoilers. Norway has retaken the lead, but Germany isn't far behind. Team USA still in that number 5 spot, and they did pick up another gold. The Olympics are a symbol of world peace, an international competition that is supposed to bring the world together. And the Winter Games in Pyeongchang have done just that on the Korean Peninsula. Paul Gerke joins us live from the Olympic Park. Paul, you witnessed something special just a few hours ago.
Yeah, Lindsay, right before it got dark out here, we were treated to something I'm not sure any of us expected to see. A whole bunch of North Koreans right here in the Olympic Park. You may remember they sent a delegation down here to South Korea for the Games, 424 members strong. Some athletes, some cheerleaders, those athletes participating in the unified Korean women's hockey team. You've seen some of them at the opening ceremony. You saw others while watching some events on TV, the highly orchestrated cheer squads. But a few hours ago here in the Olympic Park, check this out. It's a surprise performance by a North Korean marching band right in front of the curling center. Now, there was very little notice given about this. Announcements of the forthcoming show made in the park just a few hours in advance, but still a huge and very curious crowd gathered to catch a glimpse of the infamously reclusive country. I actually shot the video you're watching right now. I had to hold my camera tripod up over my head to get most of these shots as throngs of South Koreans huddled around a heavy police presence trying to get as close as they could to that delegation. Others huddled in outdoor stairwells on nearby buildings, watching from the best vantage point they could find. Now, the band itself didn't do anything extravagant, they kept it simple, but the crowd seemed to enjoy their performance, if for no other reason than perhaps serving as a symbolic olive branch that could perhaps one day lead to a unified Korean peninsula once again. As mundane and simple as a marching band performance sounds, the message being sent here is much louder than trumpets and trombones, Lindsay.
All right, Paul Gerke in South Korea for us. Thanks so much for joining us. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.